thank you both for spending the time with me. I really do appreciate chatting with you.
Well, thank you.
You bro.
Um, the film is wonderful and speaks of a need which I mean it's not that animal care is not something that I'm aware of. I mean, my old girl is asleep on the couch as it is right now. But I mean, this is a very specific area with a very specific problem in a lot of ways, or rather, many problems in this area. Um, Samantha, let's start with you. How did you get in, or how did you begin the process of this film?
I was helping my mom adopt a dog who came from Mississippi to Connecticut, and he arrived on a truck with 80 dogs from the South that were adopted in the Northeast. And I spoke with the driver, and that's when I heard she was coming every weekend. She said there were many more of her, and it had been happening for years. And I started to do some research and saw that estimates were that millions of dogs have made that journey from the Southeast up to the North to be adopted. And the more I talked to people, the more I realized that a lot of people had dogs from the South and knew very little about what was going on. And I had become friendly with the guy who was fostering our dog Stuart, and who was very wonderful and lovely. And I also realized came from a very different world than I did. So I felt like there was this thing happening that we were all involved in that was, connecting people from very different places who normally maybe wouldn't have an opportunity to connect, and that people really wanted to learn more about it. So it was that experience and the curiosity I was seeing from other people around here, and the opportunity to tell a story that people didn't really know about, but I knew enough to know was significant in terms of scale happening.
Yeah, absolutely. And Monda, I mean, can you talk about your passion? How did this start for you? I know we talked a little bit about it for the film, but how did what got you going?
Well, I never had a pet growing up.
Mm.
I just, I came from a world where we were kind of taught that, I say I never had a pet, not my own pet. And my little boy wanted a little black dog when he was 4 years old, and he wanted a little black dog for Valentine's Day, for Christmas, for his birthday, and so I eventually had to give in. And and I just connected with the little dog, and I didn't know any better. I mean, I like a lot of other people out here, I didn't know. I thought, well, I want a good little dog. So, I looked up some people that sold dogs, and I went to a puppy mill, and I bought this little Yorkie. And we loved the little dog, but I looked around and I was like, oh, this kind of looks sad. They had them in cages. I mean, that was their life, just living in that cage, reproducing. And so it kind of started from there. And before I knew it, I was all against those puppy breeders. I would never buy another dog now. I would always rescue now. I would never do that again. I'm totally against all of that now. And it's very rewarding. It's mentally, I tell people, it's mentally, physically, and financially exhausting, but it's also rewarding too. And I tell people, I said, a lot of women go to therapy. I just go chase dogs or cats.
I mean, absolutely. And one of the things that is so apparent in the film is the impact that you're having. Samantha, from your perspective, I mean, as you talk about learning about this issue, what surprised you most, whether it was about Monda or just about what you learned?
On a very practical level, I was surprised by, I had thought it was an issue of stray dogs because they are very rural areas. But it is, at the shelters, you do see a lot more owner surrender than stray. So I was surprised by that. But I think overall and people have asked, how wasn't it so hard to see all the things that you were seeing? But I was really heartened and inspired by the fact that we were with so many women who were doing this work all the time, and they were not how could we possibly be too upset by it when they were the ones being brave and persistent because it's one thing to adopt a dog and do a thing, but to over and over for years and years, it takes a real level of commitment, and a real, purpose and drive that was just like, it's hard to get too depressed when you're around people all the time who are doing so much good work, and you see the difference that they're making in their communities, dog by dog, but also just in terms of bigger changes as well, in terms of bringing low cost spay-neuter to areas, in terms of working with local governments to make longer lasting reforms, and working with schools to educate children. I mean, they're making an impact in a number of different ways. And if one avenue closes, they'll find another one to go down. So it was, obviously a lot of dark parts of it that we were aware of going into it, but overall it was a very inspiring and very heartening story that we found there.
I'm glad you said that. I'm sorry, Monda, were you going to say something?
Oh, I was just going to say that, don't think it's not heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking on a daily basis. It's heartbreaking. You just have to celebrate those victories, because there's a lot of heartbreak.
That was one of the things I thought was so fascinating about the film, is it absolutely is heartbreaking, but the tone of the film isn't bludgeoning. I've seen things before. There's a very hopeful tone, and Monda, that's a testament to the work that you and so many others are doing, because I think what Samantha has tapped into is that the incredible work that's taking place. It's kicking against the darkness, if you will, because they're very sad stories, but the film is very hopeful. And
It is, I had people before they came to see it, they would say, now listen, I can't go see that. I can't go see that. Now I just don't want to cry. I don't want to cry. I don't want to cry. And I'm like, well, you know what? I don't think it'll make you cry. And then I had people come up to me afterwards and they were like, I'm glad I came. I really like this. I've been really shocked at the feedback that I've gotten, from people there. It seems to inspire people, encourage people. I've had people tell me, I had this one lady, she said, I thought it was okay for my dog to be on the end of a chain.
Yeah.
She said, but it's not, and I'm going to do better. And and she has done better. That's what you hope. I'm hoping from the film, I'm hoping that it does exactly what you said. And what I have heard that it does. I'm hoping it's inspiring. And, I don't want to drag people down and make them think that there's just no hope, because together we can make a difference. I mean, it's a community problem. It's community problems, and it deserves community responses. I mean, no living being deserves to be treated poorly.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And we've seen things before. People calling you to go to rescue shelters and adopt pets, but I haven't seen one like this that actually, it's almost a calling. It's like, please come and do this, as opposed to, you had better do this. You know what I mean? It's a beautiful, beautiful story or film.
But I will tell you, you get to that point sometimes.
Yeah.
And you just have to learn to overcome it, because in my earlier years of rescue, I used to get so aggravated and so mad at people, and I still get aggravated, but you have to keep your focus on the animal, because if I get mad at this person, or I make this person so mad at me, and because there's only so much I can do legally. So if they tell me to leave their homes, never come back, I have to leave, and I can't go back. I have no jurisdiction to just barge in. And so then what happens? Do you think it bothers that person? They continue to live just like they've been living. They don't see anything wrong with it. It's the animal that suffers. So you can't lose sight of what the goal is. And the goal is to improve the welfare of that animal.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I have a question that may make me seem callous, so forgive me. But it's raised in the film, and I would just love to hear from both of you what you think. Do you think that animals are a consumer good, or are they something more? Because that's sort of talked about at one point of the film, where it addresses the idea of, I think it was in the 1950s or 60s, of just the explosion of pet ownership. Are they something you buy, or are they different?
It's a commitment.
Mm.
You get so much, you said you had your girl in there laying on the couch. I'm assuming you meant your dog, right?
Yes, 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 I did.
Yeah. Yeah,
She's a
okay.
14-year-old Shih Tzu. She needs a rest.
Yeah. I said earlier, I think someone else said, you're their whole world. You're their whole world. They don't have special interest outside like you do. You go to ball games, you go to concerts, you go do all this other stuff, and you come home and there's that animal there waiting on you. You are its whole world, and they give you so much more than you ever could give it. So no, I don't think they're consumer items at all. I don't think there's a problem with paying a rehoming fee. And when I say a rehoming fee, I mean vetting, getting those animals in tip-top shape. You need to take care of them. They're a commitment. They're not a prize. They're not a gift. They're a commitment.
And especially coming up with Christmas, we should all be very, vigilant that people do, I think dogs were, how much is that doggy in the window? I think that we have unfortunately turned them too much into a consumer good. And, the dog in a box under the Christmas tree is a very appealing idea. But unfortunately, it just goes against what it is, which is, a long-term relationship commitment. They're family. I think about my dog, and she's, family and best friend. Like the relationship that you develop with your dog is very deep, and it's not a toy to be thrown away, as Monda would say.
Yeah, absolutely. And for the record, I totally agree. So our dog is part of the family. She's part of the family, and she has her own needs and her own personality. We know her well. She's not a suitcase that you bring along with you. There's
That's
more
exactly
to it.
Right. And I fight with this, or debate this with people a lot, that breeders that will breed these very expensive little designer dogs, and they say things like, "Oh, but I sell my dogs for they're really expensive, and people's not going to pay that much for a dog and not be good to it." That is so false. And I come back with, how many people do you see driving $50,000 and $60,000 cars that looks like the trash dump? Just because you pay for something does not mean you're going to take care of it. And so that's just totally false.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate both of you. I appreciate your hearts. Samantha, thank you for bringing this story to us. And Monda, thank you for all the incredible work that you do. I really appreciate the chance to chat with you, and I do wish you the best.
Well, hey, follow us on Instagram, Dade County Pet Project. We share a lot of our stories there.
I will make sure to get the word out on that as well.
Okay.
Thank you so much for
Thanks,
watching and
Steve.
for talking with us.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.